Okay, it's filled up.
Britain is carrying on. Britain is so in bed with America, it's just ridiculous. Why have I even mentioned that? So what happened in Britain? Yeah, 2005-6. Hannah. Number 4. Fortunately, we seem to have more or less got rid of religion, but in America, it's so come back. I mean, Trump has used the right wing of the Christians, and I've studied American culture, particularly the last couple of years. Once again, I'm curious. What are they going to be saying about free speech and things like this? The religious right is really dominating America now. Now, it's unlikely that the old school kind of Catholic kind of fundamentalist Christians will get a foothold back in, or rather dominate Britain again. But the only reason I mention this, I mean, I couldn't believe it. This woman I met, Hannah, who knew my father, younger than me, but anyway, 10 years younger, she worshipped my father for some bizarre reason. Anyway, it's kind of like I had to know her to understand her. And as we are conducting our liaison, which was wonderful because she needed somebody actually. She needed to explore herself. I was hearing things I couldn't believe, like number 4 daughter, father, I had no idea. This kind of fundamentalist Christian. He was the last person in the world you'd assume had those social mores. Anyway, number 4 daughter. He happened to have made a huge fortune. Basically, literally, here's a million, 18. Here's a million quid. Now bugger off. I mean, slightly figuratively, but almost literally. Anyway, the point being, so there's a woman who you would have no, unusually, because she was kind of born to it and also a proper rebel, age 14-ish, runs off with the druggy wing of the lowly aristocracy. Oh, there it is. So, that laptop's got 10 minutes in it. Okay, so we now need to turn this off and take that out, and it will charge now the phone. So we will put that in there. Yep, we got green light, and we got, it was down to 7%. Right, so she's got a million quid. Okay, she'd married somebody and he had some money too. There you go. Even though he was more of a junkie than she was. She cleaned herself out, had 2 young kids, but bored. Although no evidence whatsoever. When I met her and spoke with her that day at my father's memorial, I wasn't going to go. I didn't know anybody there. This woman, I was bored. Speak with her, and the first conversation I heard from her, overheard, she looked at me. She's like, "Why are you looking at me?" Well, I discovered later because she was part of the circle. I had nothing to do with my parents' set for 25 years. Anyway, first conversation I overheard from her was like, "Oh, I'm sick of all this consumerism." To me, that's like, wow, what am I doing? I mean, the most horrible, status-obsessed in a pub in Cheshire, having a post-memorial where there were no friends, just his business associates, even though he'd gone bankrupt. So I'm in the blingiest pub in the world, outside this pub was just line after line of 75 grand shiny black 4-wheel drive Mercedes and all of this kind of horrible fucking Tony Soprano yuck. And there's this woman in there. Like, I'm so bored. I'm so kind of the only good thing is I'm there with my daughter. She's the only kid there. And I overhear this woman. I'm so sick of all this consumerism. So I kind of put my nose in and had a chat with her. Turns out she knows everything about me. I didn't know anything about her. Well, no. She knows knew a version of me from the family who, of course, had character assassinated me because this is what drives me mad. You have a dog there with a kind of expensive designer jacket on. Anyway, to the point, why have I even turned the camera on? I turned the camera on for the following reason. So, but you wouldn't tell with her. She just looked fairly ordinary, except expensive, elegant clothing, but not pushing any kind of agenda, image, or anything. Anyway, so it turns out, here's £1 million, love, fuck off. From her so worthy father who'd given the, what's it called? The eulogy? The talk about my father. And we were, myself and my daughter were actually there giggling. It was all lies. Family man and all of this. Now, terrible philanderer, egomaniac, etc. But to keep to the point. So I'm like, this is like entering the Looking Glass. They're all on drugs. Well, I'm speaking figuratively. Mad Hatter's Tea Party, literally Mad Hatter's Tea Party, but they're all in expensive suits, and there's Hannah in her probably £2,000 designer dress, so beautiful, but not subtly poignant, not gauche, that kind of. I see. You've got a understated but rather beautiful and of course perfectly tailored £2,000 frock on, or whatever they are, £1,000, £500 minimum. Anyway, so I get to speak with her, and she had definitely decided she had to get to know me. Ha ha ha. Splendid. Great fun. But as we got to know each other very quickly a few weeks later, despite her lying that she wasn't married, so she's at the Patrick Holford School of Mumbo Jumbo. Very expensive course. And here's the point. So I kind of saw through. I wasn't interested, because I knew that she didn't care. She was wonderful. She was wonderfully bleak. Her heart had been torn to shreds by her own father in various ways. She literally didn't exist, and he patronised her, despite him projecting that he's the most modern Renaissance man, although he always wore a very dull business suit. I didn't know he was worth 50 million quid. I had no idea. No, 100 million. No idea. But anyway, here's the point. So it's like because she's got nothing else to do, really, she'd become one of the original body gurus. Now, what you actually have is blokes. I mean, all of these, I actually study the alternative. No, it's not alternative. I study the homespun, non-mainstream voices, because I know that they have taken over. Now, all your blokes, they're sort of tacky and selling fucking steroids, basically, or whatever these body supplements. Here's a big tin. Here's a gallon drum of fucking supplement that you're going to end up looking like what's his face? Tate. Prior to Tate coming along. I mean, it started 20 years ago. Now they're so shabby, so ugh. We can see through all of that. I mean, what's his name? Alex Jones. There we go. Yeah, made his money from selling supplements. You know, and they're all con. They're all snake oil vendors. But then the women came along. I actually picked her up once at the Patrick Holford Institute of Optimum Nutrition, I think it was, like this flashy building in Kew. We had a rendezvous outside, and they basically came along and sold their posh version of supplements, you know. Oh, and of course, when the women are doing it, and this is getting to a point in a moment, when the women are doing it, but it's all started with the detox. Yeah. So this is a pure, slightly martyrish presentation. Oh, first of all, we're detoxing. We're getting all the toxins of life, meaning you who aren't like us. We're getting these toxins out, and here's a £99 special pouch of detox. But then it developed into detox, and then certain things that I'm sure they're on goji berries that are crossbred with seaweed by now, grown in Gweek Creek, which is actually full of shit. But so this woman I met yesterday, anyway, so 10 years ago, 8 years ago, looking for, as the environment came properly onto the political agenda, which it started to, even prior to Extinction Rebellion. So I started trying to widen my, who's saying anything useful? Are there groups or people, individuals? There were hardly any in my area. In fact, basically none in my massive whole region. 100-kilometre circle from Kington, West Herefordshire. Nobody. All shabby, really, really, really low-down versions of we're little green pixies with blue hair, except the blue hair wasn't too fashionable back then. Widening out, you encounter, starting to find it, but then I already was acquainted with Polly Higgins and a few people like that. So widening out, gradually you start to see they're all in the Devon area, and clearly they've come down here as well. And this woman I see, I say, and she was great, but we're a movement. Now, I have engaged deeply with dozens of these women, because you need more women in the environmental movement, as the woman I was speaking with yesterday knew straight away when I said to her, it's obvious. We're a movement. Now, I've engaged with these women. Every single one's a fucking con artist who's basically projecting they care about the environment, etc., which is how you find them, mainly through Facebook. I don't even like that word. It's like just a few networks of seemingly genuinely environmentally active people. No, they're projecting this kind of Earth Mother, except they don't even use that phrase anymore. Kind of we're what do they have now? Tree sisters, and then all of this. But almost all of them, actually, over the last 5 years, you've seen them. No, their profile, their presence turns into, I'm selling retreats. Now, the word feminine is non-existent. Female and male. Go to the countryside 20 years ago, and I'm sorry, it's prejudice not to agree with me. Right? Go to the countryside 20 years ago, you had female and male. And guess what? The females could do the work just the same, and blah, blah, blah. Men may be more likely to have prostate cancer, age between 50 and 70. Women get menopauses and have the time of the month. So fucking what? What have we got now? Some nonsense bloody... the amount of blokes around here who just play at being cowboys, it's just unbelievable. Anyway, to keep to the point. So, yes, there's movement. Movement. We're a movement. No, you're not. You're almost all selling something. Gradually it turned into selling. Except, of course, they don't ever really put it that way. Your yoga retreat is actually a woman, almost always a woman, has perhaps been given her £1,000,000 or stolen £500,000 by lying to a court in a court settlement or something similar, ended up in Devon, got a spare cottage. How are we going to monetize this cottage? We can have a movement where women come for weekends on feminine retreats to harness the feminine inner fucking whatnot. This is a con. This is no less a con than Alex Jones making his millions and developing his world profile on the back of selling snake oil. Full stop. But no, because it's the women, we're a movement. And I've observed this. I feel sorry for them. I just only feel sorry for them. Because they're selling falsity on the back of an image, which is they care, for example, about right to roam on Dartmoor, which they don't, and most of them, because they're too... I've known people like this. Actually, Annie Powell was the one I met 10 years ago back in my last area. Totally. I was absolutely shocked when I went. We'd known each other a few times. She's about 5 years older than me. Blah, blah, blah. She makes out she's a kind of one of the old school hippie types. Friend of Bob Robury, of course. Ex-lover of. No, they're all from the cities. They've come and set themselves up with this perfect little earth mother or tree sister image in the countryside. Annie had a rented cottage that she's a city person, and she's there actually. I make my special potions. No, she was making £15 creams that did fuck all. I went round to her house because she couldn't do her own garden. This is a woman only 5 years older than me, 10 years ago. It's like, oh no, all her creams don't work. She's got so many problems with her body that she can't even do a little bit of hand scything. Just a bit. Nope, can't do that. I go round and her Facebook's open and there's like 7 chat panels concurrently, and she's like, what? So this is it really? Oh, this is what it's really like. Jesus Christ, it's not surprising, love, that you cannot coherently carry forward any one small theme, being I probably began chatting with her talking about the local river damaged. Anyway, to the point. Yes, this so-called movement is just as much a con as Alex Jones, and there will have been others, who basically have come to prominence selling snake oil, con artist, fucking gallon drums of fucking of what do you call it? Of supplement of one or other con. That's the reality.